Well, Habib Battah is an independent journalist and joins us live now from Beirut. Habib, thank you very much for your time. Now, Israeli airstrikes have now hit as far as the Lebanese capital yet again, where you are. Can you tell us any more about this latest strike on Beirut?
Well, it's created a huge panic, and Lebanese are well accustomed to this kind of psychological terrorism, seeing bombs explode all around you, cars in traffic, desperate to get out, no way to get out. Infrastructure in Lebanon is very bad. Roads are often just 2 lanes in Lebanon, so you can imagine trying to move tens of thousands of people down 2 lanes. Many of the roads are broken. I would disagree with this idea that, Israel is attacking Hezbollah targets. What Israel is attacking are densely populated areas. Lebanon is one of the most densely populated countries in the world. Even the rural areas, people live in very close proximity to each other. So people are really feeling that this is an attack on the civilian population of the country. And we have seen hundreds of thousands of people really fleeing for dear life from one conflict to the next. And again, Lebanese have been displaced by Israel many times. Israel, once occupied this territory that's being bombed today for over 20 years, and that only created more resentment toward and more militancy and attacks. So it doesn't seem that this strategy is really working, and it's really causing a lot of pain for the civilian population. And we're seeing hundreds of people that are being killed. We don't even know the numbers right now because they're not even able to get around with the kind of tiny infrastructure in the country, even to get bulldozers and people to rescue the victims. It's impossible.
And Habib, what did you make of these text messages warning people to move away from areas where Hezbollah reportedly has weapons, or indeed even people in Beirut, where you are, I understand, were receiving these text messages? How have people reacted, and have people started moving? Have they started leaving Beirut?
Well, people are scrambling, trying to find places to live or to stay with friends or relatives in other parts of the country. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people on the move, and again, very, very, very few places for them to go. This attack with the pagers was considered by the United Nations to be an act of terrorism, to booby trap, civilian devices, and they went off in markets and people and shops and streets. Bombs are going off in the middle of streets right now, and attacks. So the idea that these being Hezbollah targets is seen by the people as a kind of a propaganda. The Israeli leaders have said many things over this course of this war, and during a war, leaders do lie, and propaganda videos are made. So media is part of this war. And so they have claimed that there are warnings, but where do you go when there is a warning out of nowhere? Can you just pick up your house and just run right now? If I ask someone to do that in any country in the world, it'd be very difficult to do that. What about elderly? There are a lot of old people that can't move, a lot of senior citizens, hospitals, small children, people getting hit in their homes. So I think the idea that this is being targeted, how would the civilians know where the Hezbollah areas are if Israel, the great intelligence power, has to kill civilians? How would civilians know any better? A lot of this is myth making, because Hezbollah does operate in deep tunnels in the country, not just in very light civilian areas. And even then, when any military in the world at one point goes home, are they considered a combatant when they're in their home? Any soldier in any army? It seems Israel has so dehumanized the people of Lebanon that they're willing to have massive civilian casualties and say that that's a target. For most Lebanese, they feel that they are being targeted. Their lives are being targeted. And again, these people have been through so much Israeli bombing in their lives. This is just the latest war. This brings back memories of 2006 for most Lebanese, when Israel bombed the country for 35 days straight and blocked its airport and its seaport and strangled the country, and it's still paying the price and still trying to rebuild from those attacks. So these are attacks on civilian areas, and civilians are being targeted.
Indeed, and it's the deadliest day in Lebanon since 2006, as we've been reporting. Now, this conflict, Habib, it's clearly moving beyond the border now. Yet again, there's been another Israeli strike on the capital, Beirut. It's becoming increasingly tense. What next? What happens next, in your opinion?
Well, if we look at Gaza, that seems to be what people are looking at right now. They've completely decimated Gaza. There's 80% of homes are unlivable. So, causing all this civilian destruction, attacks on civilian homes and infrastructure is going to cause a lot more resentment. And there's a big question of how all this is going to be rebuilt and where people are going to live. So people aren't even having a chance to think about what they're going to do next. They're just trying to run from one bombing to another. But, in the past and in the last decades, whenever Israel has tried to do this, they have not met their objectives. They have only caused more militant groups, more powerful. Hezbollah is more powerful now than it ever has been in the past, despite Israel's devastating war in 2006 that, again, flattened huge parts of Beirut and flattened entire villages. People are just trying to put their houses back together. Some people have built their houses 3 times, having to rebuild their house. Can you imagine that? So this is a very difficult time for the country as well. Lebanon is in a complete economic disaster. Its currency has had one of the most biggest crashes in history. There are already refugees living in the country from other wars, from Syria. Millions of refugees have come to Lebanon over the years. There's Palestinian refugees, Syrian refugees, and now the Lebanese are becoming refugees as well. So it's a real crisis in a very poor country, a country that has no public services, doesn't have electricity. Lebanese don't even have electricity most of the day. They live on generators. So why was a country that's so beaten down, so weak, being destroyed by the world's most powerful military? Some of the world's most powerful militaries are funding Israel to destroy just like Gaza, one of the poorest and most desperate places on earth.
Habib, thank you very much for your thoughts. Habib Battah speaking to us there from the Lebanese capital, Beirut.